Internal Bots, where metal fighting machines made in Gary's mod fight to become the best of the best. Through round-robin heats and a single elimination final, new and veteran teams of Internal Bots will be pushed to the limit. Their robots are harder, faster, stronger, designed for one thing: total destruction in pursuit of victory. Previously on Internal Bots, previous grand finalists Turn It Out and Energy both moved on to the grand final. Now, our final four robots are competing for the last two spots in the finals. Let's meet them. KHZ is here with an aggressive looking axe. Unfortunately though, it does have long sides and they can be exploited. Heatwave is here with a devilish looking vertical spinner setup. That weapon needs to remain reliable though, because if it isn't functioning, Heatwave will not be able to self-right. Cyclonian 2, damaging thick bar, but the weapon itself can also pose issues. If it gets angled at the side, Cyclonian could start to do the dance of death. Crunchy Wobkins is the name. Wedging is the game for this machine. Control the mission, though the top panel doesn't look the strongest. Now that we've met the robots in our fourth and final heat, let's give you a quick reminder of how the tournament works. Each heat is a round robin, and the top two robots will go on to the grand final. If there is a tie in score between two machines, then those two robots will do a battle to see who gets the place in the grand final. Here's a reminder of the battle rules. Each fight is up to 3 minutes in length. Competitors can win by pushing each other into the pit, flipping them out of the arena, or destroying them by means of destruction. If the fight goes for the full 3 minutes, it will go to a judge's decision, where their fate will be left to the trio. In the arena for every fight, we have Trainwreck, the house robot. If competitors stray into his CPZ, then unlimited damage can be dealt to them. And if competitors hit the pit button, the massive new Doom dial can swing left, which opens the pit, or swing over to the right, releasing Trainwreck for 10 seconds. Now, let's get our first fight underway between Crunchy Wobkins and Cyclonian 2.
Three, two, one, activate.
The beautifully named Crunchy Wobkins is going to start off this heat against Cyclonian 2, and Cyclonian 2 is already over, and so could the fight. Well, Crunchy Wobkins doesn't have a weapon, just a yellow and grey thing with a grey slab thing at the front, but I think that's enough for victory. Cyclonian 2 is over, and Cyclonian 2 is surely out, unless Crunchy Wobkins pulls off the most stupid manoeuvre here. I don't think it will though. Surely it's an easy early victory. The timer will surely come. There it is. Goodness me. It's time for our next fight between KHZ and Heatwave.
3, 2, 1, activate.
KHZ, the Axe Bot, against Heatwave. And it should be a fiery one as both machines go over the flame pit. KHZ with that long axe. Now, only problem with it is that the machine itself is long and isn't sharp turning on the spot, and buffeted into the wall, trying to back away into space and flailing that axe in response, but again it's hard to line up an attack. The sides are long, Heatwave closing in, and KHZ just needs some breathing space. It's a fast, energetic start in terms of the pace of the fight, but KHZ certainly the one that isn't landing early blows, as it activates the Doom Dial for a bit of hope, but it only gets the pit. I think it was hoping for Trainwreck there. A couple of glancing blows, but I think Heatwave has just caused extra damage there to KHZ. It has, and now has to self-right and does. But it seems sluggish, and again, the vulnerable gaps for Heatwave to attack. So hard for KHZ to keep its front towards the vertical spinner, who then ripped the panel off of the back just a few seconds ago. And again knocks it over. This feels inevitable, and KHZ is spinning wildly. Heatwave consistently driven, consistently damaging, and surely a knockout blow is coming. Well, there's more damage as Heatwave gets stuck on the flipper! Well, there it goes! And maybe that could have been the incredible turnaround. But Heatwave is still okay. Kilohertz is still flailing. The Doom Dial goes down. It's all going off here. Trainwreck will be coming over, and there he is, closing in on Heatwave. KHZ, though, seems just about finished here. The pit is gaping, and there is the finishing job. Oh, it was brave to keep in that long, but it did feel inevitable, didn't it? It's time for a fight between Heatwave and Crunchy Wobkins.
Stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
So, the vert against the wedge. Crunchy Wobkins. Can it do anything to prevent Heatwave and its march? Not by the early evidence here. Vertical spinner knocking Crunchy Wobkins back, and Crunchy Wobkins' top panel there just seemed a bit loose. Heatwave trying for these consistent little jabs at that front wedge, trying to churn it up, stopping Crunchy Wobkins getting in underneath, and it's certainly kept on top of the wedge so far. That narrow feeding wedge for Heatwave doing all the job, and again Crunchy Wobkins' top slab just seems to jar loose temporarily. In terms of armour, it's holding firm. Has to see how we can deal with Trainwreck there, the house robot, but yeah, construction is solid from Crunchy Wobkins, but it hasn't managed any attacks so far. The wedge now might have a chance here, because Heatwave has sustained real damage! The entire panel there, the gizzards, the innards exposed now of the vertical spinner. And you wonder if the spinning weapon itself is now going to be able to remain in place. Was that Crunchy Wobkins' big break here to glory? Again, its wedge isn't getting in underneath Heatwave at all. But that could be pivotal. You never know how long spinners can hold out before something gives way. Crunchy Wobkins, although it has taken all that punishment, is still holding firm. Another buffet backwards though. Spinning, looking for space. Heatwave again saying no. Slams against that broad wedge of Crunchy Wobkins. Again, that's been the tail of this whole battle, and now in underneath. And that could have spelled real damage there for Crunchy Wobkins. And again, well, we have seen so many jabs from Heatwave in this fight. How many more can Crunchy Wobkins sustain? And can it get any of its own? Because time is ticking down here. Again, these churning, bumping little hits at the front. And with 15 seconds to go, Crunchy Wobkins may have only had that chance with the top panel. Heatwave looks like it's going to be fine here. Not without worry, but still with the point surely. And there is Cease. Well, it was an attritional one. As we know, it went to the judges, and they gave the win to Heatwave. Now, let's move on to our next match between KHZ and Cyclonian 2.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
It's redemption time for these two. We saw both machines comfortably beaten in their first fights of this heat. Cyclonian being bundled over by Crunchy Wobkins, whereas KHZ was knocked all about the place by Heatwave. And now it's a chance for these two to get their first points of the heat. Somebody will have to get them. Who can, as KHZ slams down with that axe, rather wildly rather than damagingly. And Cyclonian finally getting that bar up to speed, but it doesn't help itself out, does it? The Doom Bell has gone off in the background. It has! The arena went dim, and KHZ's chances could be just about avoiding train wreck. Now Cyclonian has to be careful. These two machines are doing everything bar attack each other, and KHZ skylines now. Is something wrong with the axe? No, it does self-right. Hung loosely there. There might be some delay in the fire. Oh, big damage! The first of note in this fight. KHZ sustaining it, and Cyclonian might now be able to get ahead of steam. We've waited so long. And again, KHZ seems so sluggish on the turn. What is Cyclonian doing? I get it, lads. I get it. Crunchy Wobkins can beat the world, and Heatwave can in a serious fashion. So I get it. You don't want to face them again, but please attack each other. Big hiss again. Cyclonian again, and KHZ might finally be put to rest here. It seems so sluggish. The axe is still flailing away, but look at it. Something is wrong. Believe they may have lost a front drive wheel there, but Cyclonian might knock itself over. Oh, I cannot understand this fight in the slightest. Cyclonian still dancing the dance of death. KHZ wobbling, spinning, trundling, losing. Oh, bar jammed, bar up to speed, panel flying, KHZ spasming. Battery loose and ajar and gone. I think we might be seeing the end of KHZ here, and it trundles off. Oh, I think it's knocked itself out. It looks it. Well, competency doesn't describe this fight in the slightest for the winner. But there we have it.
Cease.
What a wild ride that was. Whoa, and Trainwreck knocks itself over just to wrap things up. It's time for a fight between KHZ and Crunchy Wobkins.
Stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Well, KHZ has been through the churning mill today from spinners. It's finally against a wedge here, but although that means it won't likely sustain damage unless it blows itself up. What is KHZ doing? I mean, I was going to say this should be a more smooth ride for it. It should be able to get some axe blows in, you know. Now comes Trainwreck, and I don't know if this fight has really warmed up yet. KHZ getting itself temporarily jammed up against the arena spike there. It's part of a four-way spike system in the arena floor. KHZ landing an axe blow. Crunchy Wobkins, again, there's that slow turn from KHZ. Seems to have had issues with its internals ever since the early hits from Heatwave. Really. Crunchy Wobkins looking to smother. Looking to not let that axe of KHZ get her front on. Because if it does, that will close things off for good. Potentially. Might not have the most luck, but there we go. Big hit. KHZ does have the potential, especially with that top panel. And again glancing. Crunchy Wobkins has done the controlling, but KHZ with the punishing blows. Onto the floor flipper they go. And they are both chucked. And now Crunchy Wobkins is inverted. Incredibly curious fight this. KHZ landing another axe blow. But can that outweigh the constant control and aggression from Crunchy Wobkins? Well, it's an interesting tactical one. KHZ landing another axe blow. Missing with that. Wobkins overturned but still smothering. Still getting to the sides of KHZ. Trying to force it back over that floor flipper. It might want to go over it itself, but despite being inverted, the wedge is still doing a good job. Now trying to push it rear end on into Trainwreck. Does it have the power? It does. Doesn't get the contact with Trainwreck's drum though. I do wonder just how many more blows Crunchy Wobkins can take. Oh wow! Well, there's the final damage for KHZ that Crunchy Wobkins wanted. That could be big. Now, the wedge seems to be jammed. It seems to be replacing the panel of KHZ, saying, here you go, my wedge fits in there, lovely. Over the flame pit, 2 more axe blows, but by the retreating KHZ. Such a good watch this, but there is the final call. And it's interesting. As we know, it went to the judges, and they gave the win of that fight to Crunchy Wobkins. It's time for our final round robin match between Heatwave and Cyclonian 2.
3, 2, 1.
Well, I don't want to be harsh on Cyclonian, but Glass Cannon wouldn't describe this machine. And Heatwave is the exact opposite. Precision milled, dominant, and I couldn't even finish my sentence before that bar spinner ended up overturned. I mean, its entire body is now acting as a weapon, but that doesn't mean you're mobile, mate. This is Heatwave's fight. Dominant throughout. Cyclonian is finished. There we have it. Our final heat has come to an end. The vertical spinner of Heatwave and the wedge of Crunchy Wobkins are moving on to the grand final. Thanks for watching and good night.